Your humility is so palpable. Like, you are brilliant. I know this. But I get what you're saying because you're Dave's. You're not going to do this. You're not going to be like, I can school people at that philosophy department. You don't give yourself enough credit in this because I've listened to you off and on for years talking about this stuff, and I learn every time I'm listening to you. And then you're like, but don't try to read it because it's hard.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the BeatiDudes, a podcast for Christian men seeking to grow in holiness while also walking arm in arm in authentic fraternity, topping the podcast charts for fraternities, that is.
That's right.
Yeah.
All of them.
All of them, yes. All the Greek ones, everything. We're at the top of that list, at least on one website. So, my name is Paul Kolker, and joined, as always, by Nicholas Besner.
Hey, that's me.
Yes, indeed. And Jeffrey Schiefelbein.
Bros.
Yes, I love it. And we're back with none other than Dave. I'd rather be drinking an Arnold Palmer, and he is here to talk about all things.
Let's give him something to talk about.
Yeah, the Summa. Yeah, well, and teaching, and because you taught high school, but you also host radio shows and stuff where you're talking about the Summa, unpacking all of that. So for anybody who may not have a clue what that is, what is the
Raise
Summa?
your hand.
Yeah, what is the Summa? Why does it matter? Why is it important for the church? All of that good stuff.
Yeah, well, the Summa Theologiae is really the greatest and best-known work of St. Thomas Aquinas. And he was a 13th century Dominican priest, and really he's not only a doctor of the church, but he's the doctor of the doctors of the church. He's the common doctor, and he's also the patron saint of all Catholic school education. So he's a guy that we got to take seriously, and he wrote a lot. He only lived to be 49 years old. He lived in the high Middle Ages, the age of scholasticism. He graduated college with St. Bonaventure, and so, of course, he would have been around the time of Francis and Bonaventure and Albert. And it's just an awesome time. You know, this is the high, Christendom age. And he, in my opinion, is the best philosopher and theologian the church has ever produced.
Well, and he kind of, part of it is the way he combines so many facets, because I mean the guy's memory was insane.
Yeah. He once said he never read anything that he didn't remember. So he had to have had a photographic memory, and I think he synthesized. And so what he did was, like I said, he lived in the 13th century. And so he went back. He was very big on Aristotle. Okay, so Aristotle, of course, was influenced by Plato, who was influenced by Socrates. And so he takes the wisdom of the Greek age, and then, of course, Augustine was very much a fan of Plato, and then you have all these church doctors like Jerome and Damascene and Chrysostom and Ambrose and all, and he even took Jewish thinkers, Muslim thinkers like Avicenna and Averroes, and so Thomas brought everything together into one kind of synthesized whole, and anything that rang of truth he would keep, and anything that wasn't true or anything that contradicted, classic Christian teachings or what had been handed down through the church, he discarded. But then he came up with this amazing system, and it all is found in the Summa Theologia.
So you might want to go back, audience, and listen to that at half speed. There was a lot. There was a lot in that. Yes. No.
Yeah.
But that's it, right? Is that Summa is where we get the word summary, or it's the same root word. So he's basically trying to bring all of that together, like millennia worth of knowledge and insight and wisdom. I mean, he's like the original Chat GPT.
Yeah, and right, exactly. And the interesting thing is that when I first started in Catholic radio, like we talked about in the last interview, I would listen. And even today, it's, just listening to Catholic radio today, Dr. David Anders must have quoted Aquinas, 3 times. And then I listened to the next show and called on the EWTN Live, and they're talking about Aquinas. And that's when I'm listening and thinking, this guy wrote this 750 years ago, but it's still the gold standard. We're still talking about this. And so that's why I went to the Catholic bookstore in Dallas, Sacred Heart Books, about 10, 12 years ago, and I just said, I just want to buy the Summa, and I'm going to read the whole thing. And the lady said she was waiting for the movie to come out, on the Summa. She wasn't going to read it. So I went home, and I started reading it, and it took me 9 months. I read the entire Summa, and then the next day after I finished reading it, I started it again. It took me a year, and I was just absolutely hooked on it. And I said, I'm going to teach this somehow, some way to somebody one day. And so that kind of started it.
So he was really playing around with the term summary kind of loosely there. If it took 9 months to get through it all.
It's long. It's big.
Yeah.
It's 5 volumes.
Well, yeah. So he said that it's a theology book for beginners.
Yeah.
Was what he said, and it's actually like an encyclopedia on all of Catholic thought.
Can we, Dave? She said she was waiting for the movie to come out. Can the three of us make a movie about you reading it? Because maybe that's what she meant. She's waiting for the movie to come out about you reading it.
Me sitting on the lazy boy reading the Summa. Yeah, that would be pretty exciting.
Just a montage of pages turning.
No, I think somebody could make a movie about the Summa, and it would be the most amazing movie ever made in the history of the world. But they'd have to do it right, because if you really just kind of distill it down to its basic message, it's just about the human journey to everlasting life and all the different ways that God is helping us reach our final end, through the created nature, through the sacraments, through grace, through the gifts of the Holy Spirit. And so and Thomas explains in that same part when he says it's for beginners, is that there's a logical order to it. Like Jesus doesn't get introduced at the incarnation until about 75% into the Summa. And there's a reason for that. And so you have to, I had this debate with people, like, you got to read it in order. And you don't have to read the whole thing because that's a lot, but it's beautiful.
If somebody's going to take your course, should they read this while they're taking the course? They take the course and then read it? Like, how does that work?
I don't recommend everybody read the Summa. If you're watching this right now and thinking, I feel inspired to read some St. Thomas Aquinas, I would go get G.K. Chesterton's book called The Dumb Ox, which is a small book. It's a really good summary of St. Thomas Aquinas' basic teachings in his life. And if you're intrigued then you go and maybe read some Dr. Peter Kraft, like the Summa of the Summa. He wrote a book.
Summary of a summary.
Yeah, and then if as you're doing, I was a little bit of an oddball and just going straight into the Summa.
Because you'd already read the dictionary. You didn't watch the first one. That's what he did.
I like roll page turners.
As in they have a lot of pages to turn.
Yeah, finished that volume 26, Mom. Can you go get me the Summa?
I have a highlighted dictionary at home. Seriously. Yeah, I'm like, I like that word. I want to use that one day.
My goodness.
Yeah.
There's so many. We're going to take over all airwaves with your brain now.
Yes.
That's the thing is I tell people that I don't know why I got attracted to the Summa, because and this isn't like it's probably readily evident, but I'm not this towering intellectual. If I go over to like University of Dallas and I'm in the philosophy department, I feel kind of dumb. I don't feel like I belong there. I just feel
the
like
dumb ox.
I'm just They called Aquinas that.
Yeah, that was a nickname for him. Ironically, of course.
Yeah, he was quiet. He was big, quiet.
Your humility is so palpable. Like, you are brilliant. I know this. But I get what you're saying, because you're Dave's. You're not going to do this. You're not going to be like, I can school people at that philosophy department. But I know you can't. I'm not trying to say that. But like, you don't give yourself enough credit in this, because I've listened to you off and on for years talking about this stuff, and I learn every time I'm listening to you. And then you're like, but don't try to read it, because it's hard.
Well, I like the Summa of the Summa. That's probably a good place to start.
Yes.
Or there's other ways to do it these days. I mean, I have a YouTube channel where I take little particular teachings or.
What's that channel called?
Study the Summa. Yeah, Study the Summa.
Cool.
And so, I don't know. It's not for everybody. I mean, it's not like it's very hard. It can be very hard to understand. There's a lot of technical language. The format of it can be kind of challenging. So if you love it, you love it. If not, maybe it's not your thing,
Well, the format, though, when somebody revealed that to me, it was a professor back in college, back when I was in seminary for a little bit, and the format I found to be the most interesting piece of it, because he breaks down, he'll take like 4 arguments in favor of something that's false, usually, right? Like that Jesus didn't have a divine nature or something like that. And so clearly false, right? But he'll say all the arguments that maybe a major philosopher said, and maybe there's a piece of scripture you could take out of context that people used as an argument, and he'll lay all 4 of those out. and then he'll say, but on the contrary.
Yeah.
And then he'll state something, and then he'll respond to what really is the truth, and then he'll go through and tear apart each objection.
Every single one of
so
them,
the guy just like, I mean, he understands all the objections and then rips them apart, which is so different.
Wild.
Yeah.
So different than what we deal with today, where most people are like, no, let me recharacterize what you just said.
Yeah.
You're a jerk.
Yeah, so that I can
Smear you.
Yeah, so I can smear you or call you a name or something. And he's like, no, let me take each of these arguments head on, and then address them. And he does that for page after page after page.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it shows a lot of respect for his intellectual opponents. I always use the example when I teach, teenagers. I'll say, we're pro-life. As Catholics, we're pro-life, and abortion we know is objectively wrong, and it's horrible. It takes the life of a child. But if you don't understand the arguments of the other side, if you don't understand, if you can't answer, like Thomas, for example, like you're saying, Paul, would say, is abortion morally wrong? If you can't say abortion is morally right and make 3 arguments on the other side that you're then going to address and say, what are the reasons people want abortion? So what are the reasons? What are their examples? Because you're never going to get into a good conversation with somebody if you're just like, you're wrong, and here are the 3 reasons why you're wrong, So I think it applies to our current discourse, because we got to respect our intellectual opponents and understand why they believe what they believe.
Yeah, and try to even have perhaps some empathy in certain situations, like this is why this person might have fear surrounding this issue, or maybe it's the fear that's driving the belief, right? Because they're going to grab onto a rationalization based on the fear, but so you're maybe not even answering an argument. You're actually trying to just love somebody out of the fearful situation.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly. Yeah.
You like teaching a lot, don't you?
I do.
You're good at it?
I do. Well, I hope so. I enjoy it, and I am teaching, the
What's
senior,
the other class you're
I teach
teaching?
the seniors at the Highlands this year, and that
nice.
has, it's a philosophy, theology, and apologetics all wrapped up into one fun bundle.
What do you call the course?
Fundle.
That's that's it. It's theology, philosophy, and apologetics. So at the same time, I'm doing the entire Summa, and then also with that, the history of philosophy from the pre-Socratics all the way to the modern day philosophers.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of learning the whole thing, and they're good kids, and they've been awesome to teach. But that's and then it's and the Summa has apologetics. It's if you study the Summa, why is Mary called the Mother of God? The Immaculate Conception, which is interesting, related to Our Lady of Lourdes, the gift you gave me. That's how she identified herself. I am the Immaculate Conception at Lourdes. But yeah. So you said, are you a good teacher? That's a long answer.
So that's you do that in a year, in a semester?
A year.
A year, because that's like 3 years worth of different college courses.
Yeah.
And
that's why the kids are all ready to graduate and get out of my
Catching
class.
them on that senior year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. One of my students said, "Have you ever heard of the BeatiDudes?" Seriously, the BeatiDudes.
Yeah, we've all heard of the BeatiDudes.
And I told him today in class. I went up to him. Luca is his name. I said, "Luca."
Oh yeah.
I said, "I'm going on the BeatiDudes today." Yeah. So, man. So
That makes me so
you know,
happy.
Luca. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man,
he's
that's
a fan.
Very, very cool. Well, something I've noticed over the years, because he did it when he was introducing you, Paul speaks this language where he can hit these puns and kind of like these dad joke versions of like reacting to things, and he gets you right in the palmer of your hand, because I've watched Dave for years. Like, you get tickled so much you can't even talk when we're in studio with you. So whatever's happening here is a great chemistry too. Like Dave off center, and Paul can just keep nailing it. You're a blessing to this community and to everybody that gets a chance to hear you on Catholic radio or see all the events that you MC. You're looking at 3 guys who MC a ton of events here locally. I'd just like to pass the baton on to you guys. You guys are great MCs, both of you. So thanks for all your work. Both.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I think it's incredible. What is something you're excited about for anybody who's listening and wants to go check out the Guadalupe Radio Network? Locally in DFW, it's KATH 910 AM. But also found online and on streaming apps. What's something you're excited about in the year ahead when it comes to your Catholic radio play? We'll finish off with that.
Can it be in a particular event?
100%.
Okay, so a couple of things. We have on April 20th a live radio show with the Spirit World. It's one of our really popular shows. It's Debbie Georgiani and Adam Bly. And they host a show called The Spirit World. It's about angels and demons and the relationship between the physical and the material world. And they take calls, and people ask this kind of stuff about exorcisms and things like that. And they're going to, on April 20th at Jesuits Terry Center, they're going to do a live show. We're going to make it like an old-fashioned radio set from like the 1920s.
Oh, cool.
And they're going to be in there, and then people can come. The tickets are $10. And you can ask your questions live there.
That's
and
cool.
we're going to be, on the air. It's going to be a real show, but it'll be from the
But you
Terry
can stream
Center.
that from the app on your phone then. Like, anybody
yeah.
can catch
Yes,
that
exactly.
anywhere.
Yeah, so if you don't catch it on April 20th, they can pull it up.
Probably so. Yeah.
But
sure
certainly,
they can.
even if you're available and you're not in North Texas, for our Australians,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be challenging. They can do through the
their
GRN
phone
app.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
through
It's
the
not
app,
that
yeah,
challenging. They just
yeah.
wake up. They already do it for the BeatiDudes as soon as we release.
I think because they're 15 hours ahead, they haven't gone to sleep yet.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
They're
they've been
staying
waiting
up.
for
They're
us.
staying up all day and all night. When's it gonna drop?
BeatiDudes comes out this evening, guys.
Crikey.
Yeah, they can watch the Spirit World. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Well, any last just statements for us on either the Summa, the very intense education you're giving to these seniors, and/or plugs for Catholic Radio? We're going to give you the mic to finish us off.
Yeah. I'd say another thing that I haven't mentioned is I also teach an online course through Homeschool Connections.
Yeah.
And it's the Summa for high school kids, but it's all online. It's all live. You got the chat room and anywhere from 20 to 30 kids spread out all across the country. And that's been a lot of fun. So Homeschool Connections, the Highlands, Guadalupe Radio Network, and my own YouTube channel where I teach the Summa. So
Awesome.
pretty obsessed with it. Yeah, the Summa pretty much dominates my mind.
I
most
would
of the
like to
time.
just be your agent. Let's just get you into as many places as possible to teach this stuff.
Oh gosh, please do.
Somebody
Please do.
today told us about where you can franchise, like people are chess teachers that will go in and teach chess in schools, and there's music programs like that. There's all the different programs, and I decided I'm going to get really good at Battleship and bring that to the schools. Just
And can I mention one other thing? Is that okay? Not in the Battleship reference.
I hope this prompted you. This is the Holy Spirit.
I don't know if it did or not, but there's an encyclical called Aeterni Patris that was written in 1879 by Pope Leo XIII. It's called the Aeterni Patris is the Eternal Father, the restoration of Christian philosophy according to the mind of St. Thomas Aquinas. And what he wrote in 1879 was basically, hey, philosophy has gone off track. We got a lot of bad philosophy out there, and what he recommended was we need to go back to Thomas. Okay, let's go back. Let's get it into the seminaries. Let's get it into the high schools. Let's get it into the colleges. And for the most part, the Catholic Church has responded pretty well to that. But and the reason I say that is I would also encourage people, if they have interest in this, don't only study Aquinas, but also study, if you have mature faith, some of these errant philosophers, because understanding where we are in our culture today with some of the craziness and things that are like totally irrational can all be traced back to philosophers like Sartre and Nietzsche and Kant and Hume and Descartes and guys like that. And so if you really want to geek out, study the Summa, but then it's also kind of cool to learn about these other philosophers as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Palmer, Executive Director of the Guadalupe Guadalupe Radio Network. in North
The
Texas.
local station.
The local station of the Guadalupe Radio Network.
But we'll say that part real quiet.
Yeah, I knew what I was saying wasn't entirely true, but since it's you, I decided to get it right,
That'd
not
be a
just
big
roll with it.
promotion.
It
Yeah.
may seem like Dave Palmer is the executive director of the Guadalupe Radio Network. Said contra. That's from the that was for him.
Christopher will get it in the comments.
He'll even tag it at the exact time,
Yes.
and he'll translate it down there.
We got some good fans.
Yeah.
All right, buddy, we're fans of you. For everybody, we'll see you in the Summa. And other than that, we'll see you
In the Eucharist.
I'm not sure how to impersonate the Summa, so I'll just say, God bless you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to join us at our undersized table, subscribe to the video version of the show on YouTube by typing @ that's the symbol @ so shift and 2 on your keyboard, @ the _BeatiDudes on YouTube. We'll see you there.
This podcast is part of the Spoke Street Network. For more great podcasts, visit spokestreet.com.